Have you ever quietly wondered who will truly walk beside you in the final chapters of your life? It's a question many people begin to feel in their 60s and 70s. Not always out loud. Sometimes it arrives in the quiet moments. In the evening. After the house becomes still. You look at the faces of the people you love, your children, your spouse, your old friends, and a small thought appears. Who will really be there when life slows down? It's not a selfish question. It's a human one. But here's the good news. Aging has a way of revealing deeper truths about companionship, independence, and inner strength. Truths that can actually bring peace rather than fear. In today's video, we're going to explore 6 quiet realities many people discover later in life. These insights can help you navigate aging with more dignity, more clarity, and more emotional freedom. Let's begin with something many parents struggle to accept. 1. Children eventually live independent lives. When your children were young, your life revolved around them. You protected them, guided them, supported them. For many parents, it felt natural to imagine that later in life, those same children would naturally become your closest daily companions. But the truth is, life moves forward. Children grow into adults. They build careers. They raise families of their own. They carry responsibilities you once carried yourself. And sometimes that means they simply cannot be present in the ways you once imagined. That realization can hurt at first. But here's what most people eventually discover. When you release the expectation that your children must fill your days, something beautiful happens. Your relationship becomes lighter, healthier, more respectful. Let me tell you about George. George was 71 when he retired. For years he believed retirement meant spending most of his time with his son and daughter. But they lived busy lives. Work, children, responsibilities. At first, George felt hurt. Forgotten. Then something changed. Instead of waiting for visits, George joined a local gardening club and began volunteering at a community park. Slowly, his days filled again. Not with dependency, but with purpose. And interestingly, his children began visiting more often. Because the pressure was gone. You see, when you remain emotionally independent, you give your children the freedom to love you, not the obligation to care for you. That's dignity. That's quiet strength. 2. Spousal companionship is beautiful, but fragile. For many people, their spouse becomes their closest companion. Your partner knows your stories. Your habits. Your worries. Your laughter. It can feel comforting to believe that the two of you will always walk side by side through the rest of life. And sometimes, that is true. But aging also reminds us of something delicate. Life does not always move on the same timeline for both people. Health changes. Energy shifts. Unexpected challenges appear. And when one partner depends entirely on the other for emotional stability, that can create vulnerability. Let me share a story about Margaret. Margaret and her husband had done everything together for nearly 40 years. Shopping. Travel. Morning walks. Social gatherings. But when her husband began facing health challenges in his late 60s, Margaret suddenly realized something difficult. She had forgotten how to live parts of life independently. At first, she felt lost. But slowly, Margaret began rebuilding small parts of her identity. She joined a book club. Started taking quiet morning walks alone. And something surprising happened. Her marriage became stronger. Because now she brought fresh experiences. Fresh energy, back into their shared life. You see, a healthy partnership is not about two people leaning on each other so heavily that neither can stand alone. It's about two strong individuals walking beside one another. That's balance. That's resilience. If this idea resonates with you, comment number 1 below. I'd truly like to know you're here. Now, there's another quiet change that happens as we age. One that surprises many people. Friendships. Let's talk about that next. One of the most surprising realities of aging is how quietly your social world changes. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, over years, sometimes decades. You begin to notice fewer phone calls. Fewer gatherings. Familiar faces becoming less frequent. At first, it can feel unsettling. But there is wisdom hidden inside this shift. 3. Friendships naturally change with age. When we are younger, we often collect friendships the way we collect experiences. Work colleagues. Neighbors. Social circles. Life feels full of people. But as time passes, circumstances change. Friends move away. Some face health challenges. Others simply drift into different stages of life. And gradually, your social circle becomes smaller. But here's what most people eventually realize. Smaller doesn't mean poorer. It often means deeper. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel was 74 when he moved to a quieter town after retirement. At first, he felt lonely. Many of his old friends lived hours away. At first, he felt lonely. Many of his old friends lived hours away. But one afternoon, Daniel joined a local woodworking class. There he met just 3 people he connected with deeply. Not dozens. Just 3. But those friendships became meaningful in ways his larger social circle never had. Long conversations. Shared hobbies. Real connection. You see, aging gently teaches us that friendship is not about quantity. It's about presence. And when you accept this natural change, bitterness fades. In its place, appreciation grows. That's wisdom. 4. Material possessions cannot provide true companionship. Here's another realization many people reach later in life. The things we spend decades collecting rarely bring the comfort we expect. Large homes. Expensive furniture. Collections built over many years. They may look impressive. But they cannot replace connection. Let me share the story of Lorraine. Lorraine was 80 years old and lived in a beautiful house filled with antiques she had collected during decades of travel. Every object held a memory. But every evening, the house felt quiet. Too quiet. Eventually Lorraine made a surprising decision. She downsized into a smaller apartment and gave many of her treasured items to her children and grandchildren. What she discovered next surprised her. She felt lighter. Less maintenance. Less responsibility. More time for people. More time for simple joys. You see, possessions can decorate a life. But they cannot accompany you through it. Real companionship comes from experiences, relationships, and peace within yourself. That's freedom. That's simplicity. If you're still watching and these insights resonate with you, comment number 2 below. Now let's talk about something even more important. Your health. Because as we age, one companion becomes more important than almost anything else. Your own body. As life moves forward, something becomes very clear. Your body becomes one of your most important partners. Not perfect. Not youthful. 5. Physical health becomes a critical companion. In your younger years, it's easy to overlook your health. You assume energy will always be there. But later in life, you begin to see something differently. Your daily habits shape your independence. Simple choices matter. Walking a little each day. Choosing nourishing food. Listening when your body asks for rest. These small actions become powerful allies. Let me tell you about Thomas. Thomas was 67 when his doctor warned him about rising blood pressure and constant fatigue. For years he had ignored the signs. Just part of getting older, he told himself. But eventually Thomas began making small changes. Morning walks. More vegetables. Better sleep. Nothing dramatic. But over time, something shifted. His energy improved. His confidence returned. And perhaps most importantly, he felt capable again. You see, caring for your body isn't about chasing youth. It's about preserving independence. That's real power. That's dignity. 6. The only lifelong companion is yourself. And now we come to the most important truth of all. The one companion who has been with you since your first breath, and will remain until your final one. Yourself. From childhood, through adulthood, into old age, your inner voice has always been there. Your thoughts. Your reflections. Your ability to find peace within. Let me share the story of William. William was 83 and had lived alone for nearly a decade after his wife passed away. At first, the quiet house felt lonely. But slowly, William began to see it differently. His home became a place of reflection. Reading. Thinking. He learned something many people never discover. When you become comfortable with yourself, you are never truly alone. And interestingly, others are often drawn to that quiet confidence. Because people feel safe around someone who carries inner peace. That's emotional strength. That's self-respect. That's a sturdy cane for your soul. Final thoughts. As we grow older, life gently reveals what truly matters. Not constant attention. Not endless possessions. Not even the guarantee that others will always be nearby. Instead, aging teaches something deeper. Peace comes from within. From resilience. From self-acceptance. From meaningful connections that grow naturally rather than through dependence. When you build a strong relationship with yourself, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing the quiet moments. You begin to appreciate them. That's fulfillment. That's independence. That's a life lived with wisdom. If this message resonated with you today, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might benefit from hearing these words. Thank you for spending this time with me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.